Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Darryl and JJ Jones.
Welcome to another episode of the Jones Zone. Today we've got Andrea Freeman. She's an interior decorator. Her company is called Authentic Home. She's wonderful. I've known her for years. And she's going to walk us through what it means to get an interior designer at your house. So welcome to the show, Andrea.
Oh, thanks. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. So tell us, how does it start off? You get a call, and let's say someone says, okay, hey, I want you to come over and help me with my house.
Yes.
Take us from there.
So it's a pretty simple process to kind of get a client onboarded. Most of the time I start with a phone call, and I really get to know them on the phone call, kind of what their challenges are, their pain points, why they're calling me in the first place, where they have been in their journey with, just style and kind of where they're at right now. And then we set up an appointment. I go out to their home, and that's really when the work really starts to get to know each other. And we go from there as far as what they're really after, what their lifestyle looks like. I think that's the most important thing. A lot of designers don't think of, maybe not designers, but actual clients, they watch all the HGTV shows, and so they have this idea of what we're going to do and how it's going to work. So my job is really to educate them from the first phone call, but really when we get to know each other about how the process works, about what we're going to be achieving. But a lot of it is not just about how it looks. It's a lot about how they're going to use their home, how it's going to work for them. And also for me, it's more about capturing who they are in their home. So we're going to talk on that first initial consult. We're going to talk about all of those things, how they're living in the home, who lives in the home, how they want it to feel when they come home. I'm saying home a lot, but that's what it's about, right?
Yeah. Home design.
Home. But one of the things that we do on that initial appointment is really walk through their entire space. So even if they're just doing a kitchen or just doing a bedroom, we really walk through the whole home, and they tell me their story. They tell me who they are. They tell me what, they're after in their space. And I think that's a really important thing, and something that I really try to tell people about is that it's not just about the one space that you're doing. It's about the whole story of your home.
And making it come together. So, for example, we got 2 dogs and 4 kids. That's going to be a lot different than...
Yeah, that's going to be a lot different than a bachelor living in a townhome. How, high-rise lifestyle is going to be very different than a family home. But, that's really what it's about on that first appointment. We're walking through, we're getting to know each other, and then the work begins. Then what I do from that point on is I tailor-make a contract for them, just for them. So it's not like a package deal. It's not like I do one cookie cutter design and that's what I do. I really take a look at exactly what they're asking me for. I lay that out and put that together, exactly what we're going to be achieving, what the deliverables are going to be. And then I get to work after that initial contract is on contract, and I get to work getting everything together for the entire project. And then I propose to them exactly what I think we need to do. I get the right people involved. So, if it's a remodel, I can pair them with the right contractor who's going to take care of the labor part and really project manage the entire project. I guess project management is, pretty concise way to put it.
That makes sense.
But really, I'm there for them, and I guide them through the entire process. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because after we've, kind of gotten the right people involved, I'm going to present to them everything that we're going to be doing. It's really clear. It's really concise. And then from that point on, it's agreed upon, and then we get the work started. And that can be a long process. It can be a short process. Really depends on the project. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. But then after that, making sure that they're taken care of from the very beginning to the very end, and doing a walkthrough with them, even giving them take-home information about how to care for their furniture. I want to be a designer for someone's entire life. So if you're hiring me for, just a little bedroom project, I want to get to know you. We're making a relationship, and I want to be your designer for the next project and the next project. And that's the biggest compliment, by the way. Right before this, I was on the phone with a window installer we've done 2 homes on the same street, and that's the biggest, most wonderful compliment to a designer is not only have we done 2 homes on the same street because they saw the work, but also I have done one by one, almost every room in the home that my installer was going out to today over a period of a couple years. So it's a really...
Also, they don't have to do everything at once.
No, absolutely not. Actually, that's something I'd love to talk about because a lot of people, again, watch that HGTV and they're like, oh, whole home for $3,000, of course,
I actually read a study that talked about how you should actually do one room at a time if you want that benefit of the newness and freshness of your house, because after a while it gets kind of old. So if you do one room at a time, that'll prolong that beautiful feeling that you have once your house is redecorated for years and years and years.
I think that's true, but I think also I do kind of a whole concept approach from the very beginning. So I want the story that we're telling to be throughout the whole home. So we might design all of the spaces together at one time to make sure it's cohesive,
That
make
makes
sure
sense.
it's taking a whole story. But a lot of my clients, they can't afford to do the whole enchilada right from the get-go. So they know where we're going. They know what the whole layout is going to be from the beginning and something to look forward to. For instance, I just mentioned this one client, but, we've done quite a bit in the house, which has been exciting. And now we're getting to some of the other secondary spaces like guest bedrooms and things like that. But we designed them years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of wonderful, to do it in phases because a lot of people, they really want that whole story. They want that comprehensive design, that concept, but it's not achievable for them maybe, from the get-go. So we really do the whole concept of the design and then we might execute it at a different time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And part of the thing that makes you even more valuable is that you can get discounts on items and contractors and stuff, and or at least vetted people that are trustworthy.
Well, that's something that it's so funny because people go, oh, I get a discount. I don't like to think about it that way. What I like to think about it is that we're going to give you the best value. We're going to find the right people for you. And yes, we've worked on dozens of projects. So they're already vetted. We already know that these are the best of the best. We've worked with them time and time again. Some of my contractors I've worked for, more than a decade. The companies that I go to regularly for, window treatments, that sort of thing, I've probably done 100 projects with them, so I know them. I know they do good work. So you're going to get the benefit of that. You're going to get the benefit of already having a full team behind me that has already been proven to have great work, quality work, and at the best value. We'll talk a little bit more about value as we probably go along, but I think that term is better than using the term budget or the term this. I like to think of things as cost effective and value because when you're doing a home project, when you're doing a design project, most people save up for years and years and years, or they want to do it just once and you want to do it right. You don't want to, cut where you shouldn't cut. And that's something that I'm kind of like a wizard at, is looking at the project as a whole and saying, this is where we're going to invest. This is where we might be able to have more of a cost-effective approach and really look at it as a big picture.
Well, it's funny. I had a landscape designer. I've done a podcast on landscape design, and she talked about how sometimes when they don't use the vetted contractors or contractors will, let's say they figure out halfway through that they underbid it and just to get the job.
Absolutely.
And what do? They just leave.
Yeah, it's terrible. I could tell you a lot of sad stories.
Tell us one.
I was working with a client a couple years ago, and they wanted to bring their own contractor in, which is absolutely fine. I've met a lot of great contractors through my clients. They might have worked on a different project with them, so they want to bring him in, that sort of thing. Well, they brought this contractor in, and I thought, okay, have you worked with him before? What are his credentials? And they said, he's a family friend. And I always got like the little spidey sense, like, okay, I don't know about that one, but they were real passionate about using him. So, I provided him specs, I provided drawings, I did meetings with him, et cetera, and that's what we can do, when somebody wants to work with somebody, that they brought in, and that's great. But they were on a vacation, and they got back from the vacation, and the contractor did not read the drawings correctly at all. He ordered completely the wrong tile, completely the wrong stone, and he tiled the entire bathroom with the wrong tile. I mean, we're talking like
so it's
a
slightly
lot. Yeah.
a slightly flawed system. You do actually have to read the directions.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard for some people. No, just kidding. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, it was terrible. It was a terrible experience, to have that. And my clients luckily understood that had no reflection on me. We had the drawings, we had them digitally, we had them printed for him. I mean, he had everything that at his disposal that he needed. So anyways, it had a happy ending. He ended up fixing it, and, he was able to do that. But, it cost them time on the project, and time is money sometimes, because it delays everything else from being installed. So that was kind of a terrible thing that happened. Had a happy ending. He fixed it in the end. But it was a lot of headache for them, and I tried to take the headache out of the process for my clients. And one of the ways we do that is pairing with contractors that I know, that I have a relationship with, so that we can make sure that the communication is really clear throughout the whole project.
So tell me, what defines your approach to interior design? I'm reading my nice questions.
Oh, good. I'm going to read my nice notes that I printed for myself to remind myself. No, I'm just kidding. No, my approach is extremely client forward, I would say, because when I look at design, the whole reason I got into it is to make people's lives better, and for me, it's very client approach. I'm never going to push my agenda or my design style on somebody else. So I'm going to go back to my tagline that I created for the company, which is curated, elevated, and inspired interiors. And I really believe that. And when I was coming up with that tagline, I was thinking about how I want to present, what I do. And curated really just means being really thoughtful about how I'm putting something together for someone, and then also honoring what they already have in their home and who they are, and putting that together. Elevated just makes making it better, right? Lifting it up, making it the best it can be. And inspired, obviously, I love inspiring my clients through their home. The home is, to me, and I sound a little preachy, but you mentioned there's studies coming out about different things. There's a big study coming out right now about how our homes affect us, and it's a lot more powerful than a lot of people gave credit to.
I'm not surprised, because when I'll meet with clients, oftentimes prepping their house to go on the market, something as simple as paint color. Yeah. In fact, I had a great thing happen a couple of years ago. I had the identical floor plan of these two properties on the market, and they were identical, so exact same floor plan, and they both came on the market at the same time. The one really major difference was the flooring on one of them, and it was really cool flooring. It was just really nice flooring. And I'm talking about, this is a few years back, and the prices were in the 700s. And the one with the cool flooring actually sold for, I want to say, a good $40,000 more than the other one. And that, in fact, frankly, the one with the less cool flooring probably had some newer appliances and things like that, but they were identical, same exact floor plan. It was just that flooring that got the client $40,000 more, because it was so appealing, and it was such a great vibe, right? When you walk in, you get that vibe. But colors as well. I mean, colors of houses. I mean, just in selling, I know that's not what you're here for necessarily.
No, I'm interested though. I work a lot with real estate agents and professionals, and I'm always interested in what you guys are saying.
Do you have a signature style?
No. And I'm like, no, I want to talk about this, because this is huge right now in social media and Instagram, and especially in the, just like the TV shows, you see like the same style over and over and over again,
the
right?
Whites and the grays.
Yeah, and there's some great designers. I'm not going to name names, but they have a signature style. I can look at a home and go, oh, that's blue and white with a lot of woven textures. That's this company, or that's this designer. And that's wonderful if somebody is looking exactly for that. I really feel that I design for my clients. I use the same principles. I use the same process. I use the same care and thoughtfulness with the design, but it's for them. It's their home. And so I really try to capture who they are. So my signature style is their signature style. So that's a little different approach than some other designers. And you'll look on my website and you'll look at the projects and be like, wow, they're really different. I got a contemporary, I have a traditional, I have, a beach house, these sort of things, because I don't believe a one size fits all. At all. I mean, how boring would that be, right?
Yeah, no, you got to be, catered to your client.
So my signature style is client signature style.
Good answer. The client's always right, as they say.
Well, yeah.
What are the upcoming trends in interior design?
Yeah, there's a lot of trends going on. I just recently went to Sherwin-Williams Color Mix, which they do every year, which is the new colors and all of that. And that's always really fun because they have the people who study this and the forecasters and all of that. But color is coming back, and I'm so excited about it because I've always been a color person. So, everyone's saying goodbye to gray. And I would say also that doesn't mean goodbye to gray as like a whole tone or a whole color, but what people are embracing is more color, warmer colors. They're getting away from the cookie cutter, like gray flooring, gray walls, white cabinets, white countertops. People are being more thoughtful about how they're doing things.
It's funny because I was talking to my stager once about the colors, and it seemed as though taupe tan was in for good 15 years for crying out loud. So actually when those grays and blues and whites came, it was kind of refreshing, but you're right. It has been...
It's about 10 years right now on the cusp of that, but it started so it goes in cycles, and it's so funny, and I'm just gonna call myself out. I don't like brown is like one of my least favorite tones to work within, but brown is forecasted to have a major comeback. Browns, beiges, tans again. So it's so funny because we saw that a while ago. Another one that I'm kind of excited though about is curved furniture. We've been seeing this for a couple years, but apparently it's really starting to take off. But curved furniture, not the boxy style of furniture, soft lines. I love soft sofas with curved backs, curved arms. So the boxy, lines are coming out, which is, it's kind of nice. I mean, there's a place for them, and if people like them, trends are trends. Trends are meant to just kind of guide people if they want to be part of that. I'm not a designer that designs with trends, but I like to know what they are. One of the trends that I think is really important to talk about, and I think this really came out of the pandemic, is more people are very interested in artisan products that are one of a kind, products that are custom-made things for them, custom-made companies that really go back to the old ways of manufacturing, by hand. So that's a trend, but to me, that's not really ever not been a trend because I love bringing art, real craftsman products and custom products all the time. But I'm really excited to hear that that's kind of on the rise, that more people are interested in that. Also, I would say things that are out right now, and you see this in a lot of different articles because it was so saturated in the market. The whole farmhouse look, is kind of on its way out. And if you like that, that's great. I have a friend who always says, don't yuck somebody else's yum, So like if somebody likes something, that's fantastic. That's great. And I love that. And I will embrace it. But I will say that the farmhouse trend is kind of just been oversaturated. Everybody is doing that, right? Everybody kind of watched Chip and Joanna, and they followed suit, and it was everywhere. It's everywhere in every like major marketplace and retailer. But people are starting to kind of come out of that being, a whole style.
Is there a trend? I'm kind of reminded to when I come across a house that was built in the 50s, and oftentimes they're built in the 50s, so they're older, they need some updating, etc. One of the first things I do is I pull up a corner of the carpet, the 15-year-old carpet, to see if there's those darn hardwood floors. And I
I'm
go,
like,
okay.
yeah, that's the best moment.
I was just going to say, so there are certain things that are kind of timeless. And would you
Yes.
put kind of wood floors into that category?
Absolutely
Yeah.
into that category. And that's the best when I'm working with a real estate agent, and a home buyer has just purchased the home and we're doing the little walkthrough and we peel up the little carpet and there's beautiful hardwood and we can refinish it. I mean, I don't know. I love that moment.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Timeless things like that. And
Timeless things,
and
yeah.
the irony is of those homes that were built in the 50s. It's funny. I found out too that when they were purchased,
Yeah.
they came with the hardwood floors were standard. And if you wanted carpet, you had to pay extra.
Yes.
And it's flip flop.
Yeah.
Because
And now it's the opposite way.
Take out that carpet. I got
Yeah.
a hardwood floor guy comes over and buffs it out, finishes them. Oh, they're just
Yeah.
gorgeous. Like you said.
And also this will, I think, be of interest to you and the real estate market. Because a lot of builders were doing the whole great room concept, the living, dining, kitchen, family room, kind of all in one encapsulated space. And that has really been, gosh, I would say probably 10 years builders have been building homes that way. And we're seeing the return of walls, which I think is really a fantastic thing. And I think that's also a thing that kind of was born out of the pandemic times, because when people were home and they needed to all be together, they realized that there was no privacy. There was no little space for them to do their work because it was one big room. So I think we're going to see a real return to walls and more defined rooms.
Interesting, because
Yeah.
I've joked the last 5 years talking about how we've gone away from that and going towards the open spaces. Like you mentioned, I said, gosh, what are they going to do? Pretty soon just have 4 walls. 4 walls and that's it.
Loft style living.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of exciting that people are starting to see that. And it doesn't mean that we'll go completely all the way backwards to, everything having a wall and a door. It might just mean that we just have, a little bit more of, a wall in between the living room and dining room, or vice versa between the kitchen and this space. But I think it's kind of, something that people realize they didn't have a lot of privacy, a lot of defined space.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what do you draw? Here I am. Sounds like I'm reading. And the reason it does is because I am reading. What do you draw inspiration from when you embark on a new project? Are there specific sources like nature, art, travel, etc., that consistently inspire your creativity? While we're getting deep
No,
here?
I mean, I'm a little hippy dippy. I think inspiration is everywhere. It really can be. And some of the greatest ideas that I've had have just come out of the middle of nowhere and go, wow, that was amazing, little inspiring moment. But I think really there are a couple things that really always get me inspired. One is art, and just going to a new art gallery or going to a museum. Usually something maybe that I don't really enjoy, a certain type of art, but if I go to see an exhibit and it just inspires me, the artist's story, what I'm seeing, everything about it. One of my favorite places to get inspiration is the Getty up in LA. I love taking myself there for a day and just looking at everything. One, that building is absolutely beautiful and built, oh man, it's very inspiring. If you haven't been there, go there. If you live in Southern California. But also specifically historic homes. I love history.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? I have a favorite decade of fashion and everything.
Okay, what's yours?
1940s and 30s. I just the clothes, the cars, the houses, all of them in the 40s. You can't find a bad design. It's so. I just love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It would be hard for me to just pick one because I have several, but I love mid-century modern, which we have a lot of in Orange County and Palm Springs and all of that. But then also the turn of the century. If you've never been there, there's a house in Pasadena, the Gamble House, and it was owned by Procter & Gamble Company, the founders of it. It was built by Green & Green, the architects. But the interesting thing about that house is that they also crafted the furniture for the home. So you can take a docent tour throughout it, and it's really incredible how thoughtful in the planning they were. So as they were planning the exterior, the interior of the home, they were planning all the furniture and all the fixtures and everything all at once. And you could really see how impactful that was. And they were very concerned too about how useful things were and how long they were going to last. So for me, turn of the century arts and crafts movement, and then mid-century modern.
Oh, interesting.
I wanted to also talk about what inspires me when it comes to a client too, because those are things that inspire me in general, and also kind of, filter down to what I'm doing for a client, but also I really, when I'm starting with a client, I try to hone in on something that's important to them to start my inspiration for their home. So whether that's, a place they've traveled to, I've done that many times, couple empty nesters, their kids are going and they're looking to redo the house. They just went on a trip to Italy, or they just went on a trip to London, and they were really inspired by that place. We'll really talk about why they were inspired there, and how to maybe hone in on that feeling. Art. I have a lot of clients that collect art, and that's wonderful, because they've already, I can look at an art piece and go, wow, tell me why you purchased this piece. Tell me why the artist speaks to you. And they will, give me the story of that. And that really starts me off on a trajectory, on a direction for them. But that doesn't always mean that everybody always has the answers to that, right? I'll walk into somebody's house and they'll be like, I don't know what inspires me, or I don't know.
That's when you walk into my house.
No. But, then we try to get to know them as a person and what inspires them, in a different way, maybe not aesthetically, maybe not style. Yeah. So that's where I gain my inspirations from.
Now, how do you stay ahead of all the industries constantly evolving? I mean, there's any strategies or methods that you employ to adapt to the design approach of changing market trends?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've always been super passionate about is making sure that I'm always educated about what's going on, because our industry, one of the things that makes it super fun, and probably why I was drawn to it, it's never boring. There's always something new. There's always new products. There's always new innovation. So what I try to do is make sure that I am continuing my education. So whether that's, making sure I'm up to date on products and going to meetings with the manufacturers, doing factory tours, trade shows, just making sure that I'm educated about what's happening in lots of different areas of our industry, because there's so much to our industry. There's, everything from the flooring you're putting down and the paint on the walls to the light fixtures to fabrics, all of that. That's a lot to keep educated on. But I really tried to make sure to make time for that, because it's really important that I am the most knowledgeable I can be when I'm coming out and doing a project with somebody, that I know what's going on. Yeah, and also innovations. There's a lot of innovations right now.
I'm reminded about color, just even color coordination. I when I first moved in my current house, and it had granite, and we got the house painted, and I said, let's mix it up a little. This was years ago. I painted the kitchen one color, I painted it yellow, and I was just shocked, because I said, okay, paint this room yellow, the rest of it another color, the rest of the house. And I came home, and it had this granite, and the granite went from being brown to, I come home, and it's with a yellow background, it looked pink and peach.
Yep.
And I could not believe the trick the brain was doing on me, and I called the painter. I said, look, I know I have to pay you again, but please come back over here. We're going to paint it a different color, because it just completely ruined the granite.
Yeah.
Having the wrong color.
Yeah, because it really is about the whole picture. A lot of people don't think about that. I'm always thinking about that. I'm always thinking about the big picture. So, if you're picking one color, that is going to affect every single aspect of that room. I
just had no idea, though, that it would literally change the color of the granite.
Yeah. Well, it's actually changing the way you see it.
I know. It doesn't change it. I guess I shouldn't have said literally. So it changes.
Literally change the color. No, but it's the way you perceive it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing. So.